This is part 2, episode 99. When Yi Fan and the others stepped into a valley, they suddenly felt an extremely terrifying scorching heat, as if they had jumped into a furnace, almost turning into ashes. Yi Fan hurriedly took out the body seed, held it in his hand, and helped the others except the old lunatic to resist the terrifying heat. Ahead, a tall fruit peak blocked the way. It is the same height as other mountains, but it is much wider, like a black wall that is as high as the sky, as if there is no end lying there. On this black mountain, there are many ancient caves that spew flames outward. The blazing heat overflowed from there, and it was unbearable from a long distance. The true fire of the sun here will not go out, as the great Emperor Wu Bei said, and it will become stronger and stronger, as expected. The big black dog muttered to himself. What is the true sun fire? This is one of the most terrifying flames in the world, and it was actually conceived here. Li Heishui said in shock. The flames in those ancient caves contain a lot of true sun fire, and the purity may be very high now. The big black dog watched. Suddenly, a piercing cry came, and fires burst out from the ancient caves on the black mountain wall. One by one black crows flew out, with real fire soaring to the sky. It's broken, the big thing is not good. Hundreds of thousands of years have passed, and the vulcan crow has been conceived in the real fire of the sun. It seems that there are a lot of them, we have to leave quickly. The big black dog changed color. Quack! In front of the mountain wall, from the ancient caves, one after another black divine crow rushed out, flashing black light, and flying with monstrous flames. So many crows, my God, the big black dog was furious. Li Heishui was also helpless. The overwhelming vulcan crow covered the sky like a dark cloud, driving the boundless fire to rush down. All over the mountain, those ancient caves were completely boiled, and endless fire crows flew out, all swooping towards them. The heat was terrifying, and the stones were melted into ashes. Damn, there are millions of them. Millions of black vulcan crows cover the sky. This is a force that destroys the world, and the manpower is almost irresistible, and there are too many. These divine crows have already matured, and they are not ordinary birds at all. They were bred by the true fire of the sun. They are extremely terrifying and extremely lethal. Boom. The old madman stood still. A terrifying aura erupted from his body, and his thick black hair fluttered like an immortal god and demon. Within a radius of 10 jong, all methods cannot be invaded. Neither the sun's true fire nor the vulcan crow can enter. As long as it is forced into it, it will become dust. Yi Fan's heart trembled violently, and even Badizi couldn't stop the millions of fire crows. The true fire of the sun was so concentrated that it was enough to turn them into ashes. Quack quack. Millions of vulcan crows roared in unison, resounding through the sky, making people terrified. On the black mountain, in the middle of the ancient cave, the flames were raging, and a pair of golden eyes were flickering, staring at everyone. This is a very terrifying chi machine, like an evil dragon looking down at a sheep, super powerful and terrifying. Even the big black dog couldn't help shivering. The golden eyes reveal endless killing intent. This is an extremely terrifying existence, wanting to swoosh towards the old lunatic. Oh my God, what kind of creature was born? Even a saint dares to kill it. Several people were shocked. However, in the end that existence resisted the urge, closed his golden eyes, and let them pass by. Could it be that the three-legged golden crow in myths and legends was born? That is the existence of the heaven-defying Xianni. The big black dog thought of this possibility and muttered, the emperor once said this possibility. There is a golden bird with 3 legs, and Nan Nan saw it. Xiao Nan Nan said innocently. Rush. The existence in the ancient cave heard these words, and suddenly opened his golden eyes again, and the killing intent was endless, filling the air, staring at the group coldly. Boom. Millions of vulcan crows are mad, overwhelming, and drown this place. That terrifying existence is like a god, looking down at Xiao Nan Nan in the ancient cave. Today, the 2 chapters are nearly 9,000 words, calling for monthly support, thank you. The Black Mountain is like an endless wall, lying in front of it, blocking the way. In the huge ancient cave in the middle of 9m8, it was dark, completely different from other caves that sprayed the real fire of the sun. There only a pair of golden eyes can be seen, which is particularly intimidating in the dark. It is like a god from hell, with endless killing intent. Rush. The old lunatic waved his sleeves, rolled up the little girl, and placed it on his broad shoulders, and then he faced the black ancient cave. The killing intent was surging like a tide, drowning towards the group, especially the pair of eyes in the dark stared at Xiao Nan Nan. Is it really the three-legged golden crow? Li Heishui and the others were shocked. How could it appear in the world? That is the fairy in ancient myths and legends, worthy of the true dragon, the divine phoenix, and the purple way. What? Everyone was stunned. A corpse's arm produced a true spirit, turned into life, and was so terrifying. How terrifying its body would be if it were alive. I know what it is. The Black Emperor shuddered and said, in the past, there was a great turmoil in the undying mountains, causing the earth to flow into rivers of blood, and the Void Emperor was born, beheading a supreme being, using the Void Mirror to destroy all the body and spirit that he beat, leaving only one arm to fall into the mountain of immortality. When it said this, several people naturally understood at once that the holy cliff was cut from the mountain of immortality, and that arm followed here. After the ancient emperor died, his flesh and blood were immortal and lifelike. That arm could be preserved without rotting. However, it has produced a true spirit and turned into a corpse, which is a bit scary, and almost no one can be killed except the saint. When they passed a pond, the old madman stood for a long time, lowered his head and looked down. Uncle, what's wrong with you? Xiao Nan Nan walked over and tugged at his sleeve. Yi Fan and the others were also surprised. What happened to the old lunatic? Why did he act like this? And they walked forward together. Don't come here, this is Samsara Lake. The old lunatic shouted softly. Yi Fan and the others stopped suddenly. All of them were shocked, and the big black dog barked even more, saying, Reincarnation Lake, this kind of heaven-defying shiny thing really exists, and it can see through its past and future. At this moment, Xiao Nan Nan looked at the lake curiously and muttered. Nan Nan saw herself on a 5-color altar, no, on a big purple star, and don't look at those. The old madman hurriedly stopped her, pulling the little girl back, away from Samsara Lake. Don't look at your past and future, otherwise it will affect the state of the world. The big black dog showed an extremely solemn expression, saying, the great Emperor Wu Bei once said this. There is only one lake of reincarnation in the world, and the legend is related to the imaginary world of immortality, which I don't know whether it exists or not. It cannot be seen by the emperor. The old lunatic said a few words rarely. He left decisively, without the slightest hesitation, and proceeded to the depths of the holy cliff. Although the 50-odd great mountains occupy an extremely wide area, they are not out of reach. The old lunatic walked at the forefront, passed through the terrifying soil, and finally came to the deepest part. The giant mountain in the center towered into the clouds, and the whole body was dark red, as if it had been soaked in blood and water, and even a trace of blood could be smelled. There is a sarcophagus on this mountain. They stood in the distance and looked at the legendary holy cliff, all with shock. Could it be that the corpse of the Sacramento was buried on the mountain? Yi Fan's heart skipped a beat. Fengshen Bang, how did the Fengshen Bang refined by the great Emperor Wu Shi be sealed on this mountain? The Black Emperor exclaimed. Everyone was also surprised, moved their footsteps, turned to another example of the mountain, and saw a golden ancient scroll. On the pitch-black giant mountain, there is a golden ancient list, which is sealed on the mountain, flowing with mysterious energy, and there is a vast coercion. The big black dog, Tongling, with wide eyes, walked around, muttering non-stop, obviously shocked to the extreme. How is this possible? Why is it sealed here? Back then, this is unreasonable. Its eyes were deep, and it stared at the conferred gods list. Its eyes wouldn't turn, and it didn't know what to think, so it shivered involuntarily. Afterwards, the big black dog lay on the ground, without saying a word, and pondered, as if caught in Ziju Yuan's memories. Fengshen Bang, Yi Fan said to himself. He was not excited, but he was almost petrified. These 3 words were definitely not unfamiliar to him from the other side of the starry sky. He seemed calm, but there was a huge wave in his heart, and the products of the pre-Qin Qi refiners were born one after another. The conferred god list is very powerful. How could it appear in the hands of the great Emperor Wu Shi, and what did he use this list for? No, the time is not right, he looked startled. Although ancient China has a long history, and pre-Qin Qi refiners are mysterious and unpredictable, the great Emperor Wu Shi was a person hundreds of thousands of years ago. Since he used the conferred god list to suppress this place, it is impossible for him to appear in future generations on the other side of the starry sky. What is the conferred god list? Li Heishui asked suspiciously. This is a secret treasure, which was made by the great Emperor Wu Bei himself, and its power is unimaginable. The big black dog said with a gnashing of teeth. Not quite right. Yi Fan felt that this ancient list was not the same as the god list on the other side of the starry sky. Blow a dead dog. Li Heishui couldn't believe it. The ancient scrolls on the Black Mountain were bright and golden, and they didn't look like they had existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Yi Fan moved in his heart and asked, "What is the role of this list?" "The effect is too great. It is a sacred artifact of seal. After pressing it, it is equivalent to pressing a hand of the great Emperor Wuxia on the Black Great Mountain. Even if the gods come, there is no way." The big black dog was very excited. "What, with such great power, are you talking nonsense, dead dog?" Li Heishui's heart beat violently. Yi Fan was also dizzy for a while. The golden ancient list was sealed here, and it would be too appalling if the palm of the great Emperor Wuxia was pressed here. "That's the truth." The big black dog stared. "How is it refined? Does it matter?" Yi Fan asked patiently. Emperor Wuxia was involved in good fortune. He wanted to refine a sacred artifact to seal immortals. At first, he wanted to call it Fengshenbang. But there are no immortals in the world, but there are ancient creatures that are suspected to be gods, so he changed his name to Fengshenbang. "It's all right." Yi Fan was stunned. The great Emperor Wu beginning was too strong, even the immortals had to be sealed. "You don't live in that era. You don't understand at all. No beginning, how heavy the word is, it can be crushed for eternity." The big black dog sighed. "This is a treasure. If it's really equivalent to a hand of the beginning emperor, it's not much worse than a pole weapon. It's a supreme sacred object." Li Heishui, like the previous black emperors, had green eyes and saliva. "It's almost out. This name is really. I thought of going with the pre-Qin Qi cultivators, and the effect is completely different." Yi Fan said to himself. "What?" The big black dog was taken aback and said, "Boy, have you heard of another conferred god list?" "What do you mean?" Yi Fan was also startled by it, and Hua looked at it. According to legend, when the great Emperor Wuxia was refining the list of the gods, He Huang finally did not say the words, according to the ancient book records, this time using according to the legend to explain. The great Emperor Wuxia once said that he had seen a kind of ancient scroll. It is also called Fengshenbang, but it is too tasteless. He wants to refine a real sacred artifact. After Yi Fan heard these secrets, his eyes were straight. What was the origin of the ancient emperor? Do you even know the legendary fetish on the other side of the starry sky? Wait a minute. Yi Fan was stunned for a moment. Could it be that the great Emperor Wuxia has not been to ancient China, or that he has been to other star regions, and has seen the real Fengshenbang, so he wants to refine a Fengxianbang? This is too scary. Could it be that the ancient star road was created by such an existence? The more Yi Fan thought about it, the more he felt that the ancient emperors were unfathomable. They were anomalous numbers, and they couldn't guess at all. No wonder they were often struck by lightning. He thought about it a lot. In the ancient years, there was a holy emperor in Taishan to worship the sky. There was a 5-color altar there. Did they all come to the star field? There were many Qi cultivators in the pre-Qin period with names and surnames. Until now, he didn't know where those people went, and there was only a shadow in this world. It's so high. Xiao Nan raised her head and looked at the black mountain towering into the clouds. Before they knew it, they had come to the front, walking around the huge mountain, feeling an inexplicable energy. "There is something in this mountain," Li Heishui said. "You need to say that the great Emperor Wu Bei has even used the conferred god list, so he must seal a supreme creature." The big black dog bared his teeth, not knowing what he was thinking. "There are many dark red bloodstains on the Black Mountain, and I don't know how many years have passed, and it has not been erased until now, with blood clots." Yi Fan suddenly felt a little dizzy. This is a big mountain towering into the clouds. How much blood did Dacheng's holy body bleed, and the entire Dayue was soaked? Isn't his blood bright red with golden light? The holy body of great completion should be golden blood. Li Heishui was suspicious. "What do you know? The sacred body of great completion has returned to its original state. The golden blood has turned into the most original bright red, and one sip can prolong life for 100 years. The big black dog drooled. "You must live well, and then you will raise an immortal medicine to save yourself, and then use the holy blood to save us." Li Heishui said. "That's right." The big black dog shook his head and said yes. Yi Fan took out the ancient scroll he got in Lishu in the northern region, checked it carefully, and said, "The 9 secrets are on the top of the mountain, a veritable holy cliff." They began to climb the mountain, and when they got here, the pattern became even more terrifying. Several people followed behind the old lunatic, not daring to take a wrong step. Just now, Li Heishui used a weapon to test it, but the result was silent and ashes. The terrifying scene made him shiver, for fear that his footsteps would deviate. One wrong step will destroy both body and spirit. You must be careful. Except for the corner of the Dao map left by the great Emperor Wuxia, there is no solution at all. The big black dog solemnly reminded, with an extremely serious expression, because this is really it's about everyone's life and death. Don't say it's them, even if the saints come, as long as they take one wrong step, they will be doomed, and they will be removed from the world forever. Even if there are existences comparable to the ancient saints leading the way, they are still walking very slowly, because the old madman is also thinking about it, and every step must be accurate to the slightest. What if I accidentally go wrong? Xiao Nan Nan asked innocently. Little ancestor, please don't say that. The big black dog was nervous for a while, and he was really afraid of problems, and said, if you take a wrong step on this mountain, the force of killing you will suffer is equivalent to being killed by the ancient emperor. A slap in the face. Li Heishui became even more hairy, and his calf turned a little bit. He said to himself, we are walking on the tightrope between hell and heaven, and no one should talk nonsense. Boom. Not far away, a terrifying black hole appeared, and the power of devouring was horrifying. Did it go wrong? No, a leaf was blown up this holy mountain, touching the power of a pattern. This is also too terrifying. Even a fallen leaf has triggered such a black hole, if we are wrong. It's really going to turn into ashes on the spot. It took 2 hours for them to come to the middle of the mountain. At this time, it was foggy, and the band-shaped black mist lingered around, making everything look extremely gloomy. Don't let anything happen. Several people felt ominous in their hearts. Nan Nan saw several people, both male and female. Xiao Nan Nan suddenly spoke, pointing forward with her little finger. The old madman had already stopped and confronted a few people in the thick fog. He didn't make a move. Yi Fan opened his eyes, but he could only vaguely see that several people were wearing ancient costumes, as if they had come from ancient times. They are all very old, their bodies have no vitality, and they are dead, but standing there is very oppressive and suffocating. The old maniac confronting them like this is definitely not a good thing. Could it be that a few saints can't do it? The ominous premonition intensified, and several people beat drums in their hearts, extremely nervous. The mountain wind blew, and those ancient people were like fossils in the thick fog, motionless, only the ancient clothes were hunting. Damn, it is impossible for saints to appear in the world. How did these gods appear? The big black dog was frightened, and he almost stuttered. After thinking for a long time, the old madman started walking again, bypassing a few people, heading up the mountain, and said at the same time, don't look back at them, don't sense their chi, just follow me. A few people didn't dare to come out. They stepped on the old maniac's footsteps and walked up the mountain step by step, not daring to look back. However, their backs were cold, and they clearly felt that those people were looking at them with icy eyes in the thick fog. The ancient costumes made the figures appear mysterious and unpredictable. After walking a long way, the tense atmosphere eased, and Li Heishui whispered, Senior, who are they? An old dead man. The old lunatic has only 5 words. The supreme powerhouse, who has been dead for many years. However, I clearly felt the cold eyes. Several people felt very strange and puzzled. Why do you think they are alive? The cold eyes are falling on us. The little girl is a little timid, whispered. Yeah, I feel that way too. Li Heishui was also puzzled and couldn't help but look back. In an instant, he fell into an ice cellar, his body could hardly move, his face was pale, there was no blood, and he couldn't say a word, like an ant overlooked by a giant dragon. Don't look back, don't watch, they are people who have been dead for a long time. The old madman snorted lightly, spread his sleeves, and turned his body around. Oh my god, it's so terrifying, you all don't look back. I just looked back and didn't see anything clearly, but that kind of gaze made my heart break. Li Heishui almost collapsed self-talk. They didn't quite believe that it was a dead man, but the old madman said so, and all of them dared not turn back. No matter what happened behind them, they chose to move on. The fog was getting thicker and thicker, and the huge sarcophagus on the top of the mountain could not even see a trace of its outline, and the spiritual sense could not penetrate the strange fog. Damn, there is another person on it, this may be alive. The black hair on the big black dog stood up. Far above, there is a figure, as imposing as a statue, incomparably tall, but his eyes are very intimidating, and can penetrate the thick fog. It was a pair of cyan eyes, without whites and pupils, like two cyan ghost lights lit in the thick fog, looking down at the group of people below. "Don't look at him, treat him like a dead man," the old lunatic warned again solemnly. At the same time, he changed his route and climbed upwards, and suddenly a golden light shone beside him, passing through the thick fog. Because they were detouring, they came to the other side of the mountain, and saw a lot of dark red bloodstains, and they saw the function bang at close range. "Let's stay away from the person above. Even the ancient corpse looks very unusual. If there is trouble, there will be a big fight," Yi Fan said. The old madman didn't say much, but he was thinking seriously, changing his route step by step, walking towards the example of the conferred god list, and going up the mountain. The golden light was so strong that the thick fog could not submerge it. The stone wall was full of traces of time, and the ancient conferred god list was glued to it, which was very firm. Even in the past 100,000 years, there is no sign of loosening, and the years have not left a mark on it. Blood pit. Li Heishui was surprised that there were blood pits that had not dried up in this area. This is the blood of the holy body of Dacheng, and it is a priceless sacred object. The big black dog screamed, almost pounced, but he was too shy to walk around, so he resisted the urge. Unfortunately, the essence has already dissipated. Yi Fan shook his head, but he couldn't help but be shocked. Hundreds of thousands of years have passed, and the blood of the holy body of great accomplishment has not dried up. How powerful is it? There is a broken spirit medicine route. Li Heishui was surprised. In the blood pit, there was an elixir that once grew, but unfortunately it was picked and taken away. You don't have to think about it, and you know that the elixir born from the holy blood must have amazing medicinal power. There are writings, Kai Long is trapped here, the big black dog said, and then cursed, saying, "It turned out to be that demon, and he saved his life with this medicine." Yi Fan was startled. The Kai Long Daoist was trapped on the holy cliff. It turned out to be here, and he came to the top of the mountain. No wonder he was sealed for 1,500 years. From what he saw just now, it was a miracle that he could survive. At this time, they were getting closer and closer to the conferred god list, and it was already clearly visible that it was like casted gold, showing strange fluctuations. I saw with my own eyes the supreme sacred object made by the emperor himself. The big black dog sighed with a hint of sadness. It's a pity, the great people of all ages can't stop the years. There are stone carvings on the edge of the ancient list. Xiao Nan Nan stretched out her small hand and pointed forward. Damn, who is so immoral? Why is there a bald man engraved next to the conferred god list? The big black dog was extremely angry. Shakyamuni. Yi Fan was shocked. The stone carving was almost identical to the Buddha seen in the temple. This is the mark left by this person, the old lunatic said suddenly. It's okay for this dead fat man to leave any mark in front of the conferred god ranking, but this old bald head is very powerful, he can enter and exit here. The big black dog was very indignant at the same time. There is another stone carving. Xiao Nan Nan pointed to the other side of the conferred god list. It was an old man riding a green bull, and it seemed that there was still purple energy floating westward, which was vivid and vivid. This video will end here.